Hi, friends, and welcome to the Books and Such Literary Management Podcast. I'm Jen Babakhan, your host. We are here for a fun and hopefully eye-opening episode for you today called What Not to Say and Why. We want you to think of it like the classic TLC show, What Not to Wear. Only instead of bad fashion choices, we're talking about bad communication choices that can hurt your reputation as a writer and hamper your publishing goals. Listen closely today as we cover publishing don'ts, because sometimes what you don't say is just as important as what you do. Hello, ladies, and welcome aboard. How are we doing today?
Doing great.
Well, yes. Woo, spicy episode coming up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. We're going to start with our number one don't, or our don't number one, so to say. Don't whine about editors, authors, or industry frustrations. So this one has the potential to be extra spicy. Does anyone want to jump in here?
So I don't want to jump in yet. I'm applauding us for just coming in hot on this one.
I don't mind speaking into it from the perspective of all of us on the screen are authors as well as agents. And some of us have served in other roles within the publishing industry as well, too. So when I think back to the TLC program about what not to wear, usually the intent and the reason why the couple would take an individual who had maybe not been dressing to their full potential, help them feel better about themselves, help them have a better opportunity for the job interview that they were heading for, or for the new career they were starting, or for whatever it was that they really cared about in life. And others had nominated this person because they knew that there were some things that maybe they were operating off of past hurts. Oftentimes, that's what comes out in this discussion, this very discussion. If we turn to whining about what an editor did or didn't do, or what another author did or didn't do, or what their agent did or didn't do for them, those kinds of frustrations our frustrations can be coming from a place of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That what we're talking about from our perspective as agents is when that's our go-to, we really could have stopped at don't whine. Just don't whine, because it accomplishes practically nothing. It doesn't even get us the sympathy we want. So usually in the show, they had to get beyond the place of don't give me all the excuses why you've been wearing sweatpants and that holy t-shirt for the last 3 weeks in a row. We don't need the excuses, and we know that some of it came from a place of pain. Here are best practices. Here's some best practices for communicating. And so that's kind of a background for that. Anybody else want to give something more specific?
Well, I think that is kind of a background, and best practices is something to think of. Those are good words. Thank you, Cynthia. So with best practices in how we speak about our editors, other authors, agents, industry people, when we're frustrated, would be to go directly to the person. I mean, don't splash it out on social media. Don't go to your next writers group and talk down your agent or your publisher, but go directly to the person. If you're having problems with an editor you're working with, let them know. Have a big girl, big guy conversation with that person instead of talking behind their back, which, really is just not just whining, it's gossipy and it's ugly. It's not a good fit. It doesn't look good on us. It's ugly. And so the same thing, if you have a problem with your agent, talk directly to your agent. Talk directly to if you're having a problem with another author, talk directly to them. So I think a best practice would be to talk direct. Your frustrations go correctly to the person that's frustrating you, not to the world.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Debbie. because social media, particularly when we're talking about people sharing their experiences on social media, I saw an author this morning when we were all backstage talking about this episode. I saw an author who had a very disappointing experience. And the issue is that the author wanted to share that experience on social media with an industry professional. But because the author went on and on in creating this post, sharing all of the details, not only on Threads, but also on Instagram, rather than just go, hey, I had a really disappointing experience. Something didn't go as I would like. And can you pray for me with XYZ? It really sounded like this person was done wrong, when in fact, the industry professional had done them a favor and had kindly given them. It wasn't what the author wanted to hear. So by no means are we sitting here as agents and authors saying that there aren't, for lack of a better term, unfair, those things that happen. Yeah, sometimes people aren't treated well. What we're saying is that bring maturity into the authenticity.
Yes, very good.
And
Yeah, we want to be authentic, not fake, but we want to be mature and appropriate.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we're talking about this is not because we don't understand that there are frustrations, or that we understand even a writer's need to bounce those frustrations off of others in their close circle. But this is coming from a place of protection, because as people say, the internet is forever. And once you have put that out into an online space, you have just given the opportunity to so many people to screenshot your words, even if you decide to go back and delete it. Editors are going to be looking through, and not just editors, but agents, all sorts of publishing professionals are going to be looking through your online spaces, your replies, how you're interacting with people. And you certainly don't want to set yourself up as someone that could be really difficult to work with, because from the outside looking in, they don't understand all of the intricacies of whatever situation you're speaking of. They don't have that kind of insight that you do. So even if you feel perfectly justified in what you're saying, to the outside perspective, it's not going to come off that way. And so our heart for you as a listener, as a writer, is to understand that we're coming at this from a very protective place for you and your future as a writer and your career.
There's another thing, if I could add to that, which is for the sake of others, for the sake of others. So even if it's just your small group of friends that you're talking to, what if one of those friends needs to work with that editor down the road, or is going to be working with that agent down the road, and you don't want to poison their thoughts toward that and start them off in that relationship with a bad taste in their mouth, or with their red flags already flying and nothing bad has happened. So there's part of it that, because this industry is a small industry and people move from place to place, where part of it is that we are continually building healthy relationships, and we're doing what we can to avoid the unhealthy relationships. Sometimes a dress will look great on the hanger and won't look so good on us, or vice versa.
Yeah. I will say, I think, just to kind of cap off the conversation, that we have to remember that the publishing is an up and down journey for everyone. But at every juncture, our response is our responsibility. There are some of you out there who have been hurt by editors who were careless, agents who were inattentive, other authors who may have stolen your idea. Like we want to validate those hurts, but how you respond to it, you've got to be responsible for. So as others have talked about how things live on forever in social media, not poisoning the well, like those are things that you do have control over. And we want to encourage you to steward that wisely.
So good.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move on to our don't number 2. And this kind of ties in with what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Think before you post. So does anyone want to expand on that? Social media wisdom.
I can give an example that will hopefully stir some of the conversation a little bit too. I wasn't fully conscious of this until just recently when there was an editor who was talking just casually about what they do when they're looking at a children's book author, for instance, as a possibly taking on their project. They say, you do know, don't you, that the parents' first thing will be to go and look at that author's social media presence of that children's author, that prospective children's author. The parents need to know that they can trust this book in the hands of their children by what that author's life is like displayed for all the world to see. So if they write this darling book about friendship and then they see that the social media posts are hostile or especially political,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a motorcycle gang kind of person posting pictures like that, and not a motorcycle group that goes around and does good deeds and helps the homeless and shares and is generous, but is out there for the fun and wildness, the parent may not buy the book for the child. So the publishing dreams can be interrupted by the persona that's on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So, whoa, women.
Facts.
Well, also like if you're like trying to build an audience and connect with people, if you post things that are derogatory or that are mean-spirited towards any group, any people group, it's a very bad look and you're going to end up offending somebody. Some people will be thrilled with you. They'll cheer you on. I'm speaking even, I see some authors post political posts that are very offensive, actually. And, it's just it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Like when we are writing books, putting messages out there, and people are looking to you on social media, just stick with what you know. Don't be sharing things that, you haven't fact checked. You don't know if it's true. It really makes you seem not reputable. And you're right. Like editors and publishers will look at all that. It's not like we're hiding, like what we stand for, what we believe. But I mean, you're either called to writing in ministry in this case, or, you're a politician. And I'm talking about, recent, histories here. And so you just decide, choose your lane, because
Yes.
publishers will look at you and they'll see that the lane you're in.
Yes, very much so. And I can't agree more with, there is a level of responsibility that we have to our entire audience, particularly if your audience skews across a wide variety of lanes as far as just people who come from all walks of life. There are some authors who do have a very specific niche audience.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. They can go crazy. But the vast majority of people, if you're a novelist, you're going to have people from a wide variety of walks of life. If you are a nonfiction, you might have, if you're writing to moms or if you're writing for parenting or what have you, or a Bible study author. So yes, it can feel a little constraining because you're like, well, I should be able to say what I want to say. Well, if you think of yourself as a storefront business, and depending on the kinds of things you're putting out there, it's a choice that you will make. And you also have to own the positives and the consequences of that choice. Well, consequences, that's negative there, but you just have to own the full world of consequences in that choice.
Yeah, I absolutely. Just to round this out, I think it's very dangerous to assume that to make assumptions about your audience, and that they feel the exact same way that you feel about certain topics or issues. And so when you do finally come out and say, well, this is actually how I feel about this situation, that can feel very isolating to a fan base or an audience that feels like they know you. And it can feel very jarring to suddenly get this information. I've seen many authors be in that scenario where readers will come back and say, I had no idea that you felt that way, but now that you do, like, I just can't relate to you anymore. So it's just from purely a business standpoint, you don't want to isolate your market, right? So so that's something to consider as well. Okay, moving on to don't number 3. This one is a very important one. Not that they all aren't important, but don't quote anyone without permission. So
this one. So I'm going to wear my author hat for a moment. I remember my first traditionally published book. I got through the whole deadline of writing the book. And I remember when I got I received the developmental edit back, and there were all these notes about how I needed to find the original quote, because I had citations. I have an English degree. I knew how to cite things, but publishing, the standard for making sure that we give the right attribution, the internet lies to us, friends, about who quotes what. And it was such a cold shower of a wake-up call. Because just because I found something in a book, that did not mean that was the actual original citation. And now that I'm an author, I get it. I want people to attribute my original work if they're going to quote me. So it is very much a measure of respect in honoring those whose words you're using in order to elevate your words.
Absolutely.
Similar situation too with an epigraph, one little sentence that I had in the beginning of a book. And I had done my research and believed that it was Socrates who first said it. And some editor caught it in the process and has said, dig a little deeper. And when I dug deeper, I realized that the information was, many people believe. And it was I could find 70 instances attributed to Socrates, and it wasn't Socrates who first said it. I'm grateful for that editor who caught it, but it made me all the more conscientious about that. Sometimes we're even talking about also, if we want to post somebody's quote in social media, do the kind thing, do the wise thing, even in getting permission to quote that, and then tag the person when you quoted them, because you're also helping to feed that relationship base.
Also, when you're writing, and this is for like nonfiction, but this happened to me recently. I was talking to someone, they said, oh yeah, like in writing my book, like I put a little bit of your story in, the story about you and your mom, and I just kind of paraphrased it and how I heard it. And I'm like, I was quiet on the phone, and they go, is that okay? And I go, no, I'm not comfortable with that, because you may be viewing my story different than my story is, and it's my story. So I think it's really important. We like to use illustrations, get the permission from the person, go over what you're going to write about it, and get their okay and permission on it. And this person, it was completely innocent. She's a love. It's nothing negative about the person. She was just excited to be able to share that little clip of something that she thought she heard from me. So always ask.
And that's such wise advice.
Jen, I know we need to move on, but one of the things that a lot of new authors don't know is that the publishing house will send you a permissions form to fill out. That will be a whole spreadsheet of every time you quoted somebody, and they expect that. So tip is start while you're writing the book. To get all that information as you're writing the book, rather than after you're all done having to go back and get the permissions.
Excellent. This is golden advice. Okay, moving on to our don't number 4. Don't share which publishing house is considering your project.
Why? Why not?
That's right. Why shouldn't we do this? This feels like, this feels like this could get real sticky real fast. Does anybody want to talk about why this is a big no-no?
Well, practically speaking, for me as a literary agent, because the deal ain't done until everything is signed off of. So the competitive edge for a literary agent is keeping everybody in the dark as much as possible, and not out of a shell game situation. It's because contract negotiations are touchy. And we do not want to jeopardize one of our clients' chances in case something weird happens or things change. So, ladies, I don't know about you, but there are projects that I thought was going to land at one publisher, and they ended up landing at a publisher that was never on my radar. Yeah. So I am very emphatic with my clients about, I'm getting ready to submit you. Sometimes, and I know not every agent does this, but sometimes I don't actually tell my clients which houses I'm submitting to at the very beginning, because I do not want them to accidentally spoil it for themselves. I'll let them in as things progress, but I'll just go, hey, yes, I'm getting you out there. I just need you to trust me. And I'll let you know, especially if I'm worried that they're going to say something on social media, because I don't want them to accidentally shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent, excellent. So I think that covers that one. Okay. And our last don't number 5, don't share your advance amount, contract details, or your publisher's marketing plan. So this is a difficult one, I think, for especially for new authors. They're so excited. They want to share to the world all that they are doing and getting and receiving. And why shouldn't they share that? Why shouldn't they put that out there, even among their writing friends, perhaps especially among their writing friends?
I know my boss says, because it's a contractual, legally proprietary information. So that information is between you and your agent and the publishing house. It's not information that can, by contract, should be shared with anybody else. And again, as Barb had said earlier, there's so much behind the scenes of why one advance amount might be different than another author's advance amount, why a marketing plan might be different for this author than another. It may have nothing to do with the author. It might have nothing even to do with the project, but it might be positioning. There are so many things behind the scenes, but it's actually not contractually okay.
Yep, that should be enough right there.
Yeah.
Contract.
I think you summed it up well, Cynthia, that contractually just zip the lips, and that's the plan. So thank you so much for joining us today. You can listen to this episode and all of our past ones wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find our full archive at booksandsuch.com under the podcast page in the resources tab. New episodes release on the first Wednesday of each month, so be sure to follow us on Instagram at Books and Such for book releases and exciting agency news. And if you enjoyed this podcast, would you head on over to wherever you listen and give us a star rating or a review? It helps other listeners that could be interested in learning more about publishing and getting a peek behind the scenes to find this podcast. We would be so grateful for you to show us some love in that way. And we'll see you next time for another conversation designed to encourage, equip, and inspire you on your writing journey.